What's up, good people? Mike Johnson here with Winston
Wisconsin,
name
but
Wisconsin. Man,
yeah,
I've seen that name many times because you're a DripJobs user, and I always want to say Winston, but it's Winston. Good to have you, brother.
good to have you too, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate your time here.
of course, man. So we talked a little bit yesterday, but give me a recap on some areas that you're wanting to double down on, man. What's going on in the business?
Yeah, absolutely. What I kind of want to focus on here is going over, you know, time allocation for me. As we've scaled and grown, my day-to-day's shifted a lot. That's one of the things. Delegation, and then kind of just like our key. I don't want to say issues right now, but like our constraints that um, need to get happened, and maybe some experience that you have on those areas.
Yeah, I mean, I know you said that you're bringing on a salesperson, so that's going to free you up big time,
Yeah,
right? I mean, I think like that was huge for me because I would spend, I don't know, dude, like all my time driving. So, that was big. In terms of what is it mostly like what's next for you as someone that's removed from both production and sales, or what is that, can you dive into that a little bit more?
yeah, absolutely. Um, with that, it's how do I kind of manage my time and shifting them with the sales aspect and getting them trained in on the sales and trying to make it as just data driven and easy as possible, where all they have to
Yeah.
do is plug in numbers and
Right.
be a good person, understand their why. Um, but in terms of our metrics in the sales aspect, is um, we have a good set rate. So for every quote that comes in, every lead that comes in, that's a good number right now. Where we've kind of seen things shift is we've started to charge more, um, which is going to obviously kind of lower your close rate, but also not having the owner founder do the quotes, which was always been me. Um, that obviously is going to change that and lower that close rate. So I want to make sure that like
Yeah.
maybe some ways to make that more seamless in terms of the sales, but also just like that's the constraint right now is our sale ratio probably now that we're going to have a new person, but then also just logistically with production, we've added a lot more people and things are going well, and I'm logistically trying to think of, okay, now instead of managing 6 to 8 people in production, this is drastically different when you're managing 10 to 16 people that are
Mhm.
in production.
Yeah.
And that's where we want to go, you know and
So how many, so these employees?
yep, everybody's a W-2 in my company.
Good, man. Good.
um our
So how many crews?
sales, right now, so going into this winter season, we'll have 2 crews. We actually might be, and you kind of made me think about this, as maybe having 3 crews
Okay.
over this winter
Uh,
time.
and you have two crews of three right now?
Correct.
Okay. So two crews of three, and you want to get to that third crew.
Correct.
Man, that's a big jump. It is. It's a big difference, right? And you're trying to do it at a time during winter and when you just hired a salesperson. Okay. Personally, I think you're going to be stretched thin financially with this salesperson. Okay. Because you have to provide commissions, and you have two crews pretty much generating all the income needed for not only their pay, your pay, his pay, and the overhead. Okay. So when you look at three guys in my experience, generally speaking, it all comes down to numbers, right? It's like generally speaking, three guys can generate 6 to 8K a week. Would you find that to be true, or am I off base?
Yeah, I can get you a number right now, but we should be producing between 3 people. A crew that works 35 hours a week should produce about um 10K is the goal, but they should be producing for sure about 8.
About eight, right? So okay, so on a high, so there, that's pretty good. Like 5 days a week,
Yep,
10K.
5 days a week,
Okay.
35 hours for those 3 people. We
Okay.
charge.
Why
Um,
35 hours?
I've talked to other people, and Nick Slavic is a guy I kind of pull things from different people ahead of me, and I would rather forecast for them to hit their KPI of factoring in them working 35 hours a week versus 40, just in case, hey, you work a 7-hour day. Or I'd rather, um, plan for them to, not everyone's always going to work a 40-hour week.
I'm kind of confused on that. And I'm curious myself, is like, when you're projecting your week, right? Like, for me, I look at employment when you hire somebody is like
Yeah,
40 hours a week. Like, that's your responsibility. Like,
yeah.
anything less than that, like, just give them the extra 5. So I understand what you're saying, but generally speaking, are you that, tight on the difference between 35 and 40? Like, what does that usually look like?
Yeah, I mean, they typically are getting 40 hours a week.
Okay. So you're just projecting 30.
Yeah, I'm projecting this. And that
Okay.
came from looking from different people ahead of me in business with a painting company, Nick Slavic,
Okay.
our guys at Painter Growth.
Okay.
Their people have been like, hey, it's probably best to have 35 for a little bit of buffer just in case, hey, someone has to go do an appointment. But they typically are, getting 40 hours a week.
Okay. All right. So good. So anyway, in that case, you're expecting them to produce 8 to 10K in a week's time. With that said, what is the commission structure for your new salesperson?
Yeah. So this is, I'm very fortunate. This is a guy that actually worked with me when I was my first year of sales with paint, which was when I was at College Works.
Okay.
And I know that he can sell. He's also a buddy of mine. But we kind of hit on, hey, we'll start you fully commish off of profit margin.
Oh,
Everybody is paid. Yeah, that's. I want to hear your thoughts on it because maybe it's something that changes. But I like doing profit margin for everything because production bonuses are based off of profit margin.
wow.
Um,
Profit margin is not 100% accurate ever.
okay.
You know that, and I know that.
Yeah.
You can't. It's close. It's just not a. It's not a. It's not. It can't be proven true because you have sundries that you're not accounting for, gas, things that really truly give you a gross profit margin. There's usually a 5 to 10% variance when it comes to job costing that just doesn't get accounted for because it's very hard to attribute every single
Gotcha.
minute cost to a job. You know, I understand the thought behind it, right? The thought behind it is, hey, if I'm giving you commission, we want to make sure that the margins that you're pricing for turn out to be profitable, right? Well, brother, it's not going to take you long to identify that the jobs that he's pricing, that's more of coaching than it is, basing his commission off it. Because if he keeps coming in low, you're not going to let him sell anymore. So I think it should be on the sale price because number one, it's easy for you when it comes to cutting commissions because that's also a headache is going through job costing, calculating commissions off of that. And number two, there should be a weekly meeting of some sort that helps you identify what his benchmarks are as a qualification of his job. Like it should be, look, dude, like in order for you to keep this job, like you need to be hitting 45% profit margin. And that to me is a more efficient way to do it. Now, companies do both, but for me, you're basing someone's income off of a number that is very subjective and it doesn't allow him to audit his commissions, which if you look at his perspective, like there's some different things there. I would do it off of the sale,
Gotcha. Okay.
speaking.
So
And I would give a variation though. Like so the way I would do it is if he generates the lead, he gets a different percentage. And if you generate the lead, it's a different percentage, right? So it incentivizes doing some networking and kind of getting some boots on the ground.
gotcha. Okay. Um, I guess, do you maybe have some percentages for that? Because I think of what we were going to
Eight
do
to
is
10, 8 to 10
8 to
off the
10
rip.
on sale.
Well, I mean, you can structure this however you want, right? He's 100% commission, right? So the
Yeah.
biggest thing when it comes to a commission salesperson is what's called OTE. That's on target earning, right? So what you need to identify is like, hey, dude, if you do an amazing job, you should expect to make How much?
Are you asking me? If you do
I
an
am.
amazing job.
Yeah, like if I applied for your salesperson role, how much can I make?
I want to have our sales guys making six figures.
Okay, so $100,000, right?
Yeah.
So that means in order for him to make six figures, okay, we got to do some math here, but he needs to sell $1 million by himself, right?
Yeah.
If he's getting 10% commission.
Yeah.
Now he's going to probably have to do 1.2 if he gets 8%, but let's generally say that that's what his benchmark is. Now,
Yeah.
what were your sales last year?
In 2023.
Yes.
Okay, so we were operational well, actually, last year we were operational for 5 months. I was still in college, so I was always working full production in May through September, and then I would sub everything out while I was still in my last semester of college. In terms of that number, it's almost better to look at what we've done this year. It's a little more accurate, but if we look
Okay.
at last year,
Yeah, you could tell me this year. What are you averaging per month in sales?
about 85K.
85K. So that's, you're at 85K and that's you doing it per month, right? So if he's 8 to 10% of that, he's at like 65, 7K per month, which would take him to six figures. Six figures is 8,300. He's close. But then again, that's how you have to look at it, right? It's like, okay, well, what's the par? It's going to take him a couple months to get there, but you always want to map out what best case scenario looks like. And that's how you kind of do it, is you look and say, okay, well, in order for my salesperson to hit that goal, he needs to sell $1.2 million. And you need to model this out for him so he has a goal to achieve.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And in order to hit $1.2 million, you need to reverse engineer how many appointments that is at what closing ratio. So what's your closing ratio?
Yeah, my closing ratio is 70%. Okay.
Well, that's yours.
Yes. So basically, I actually have this mapped out for him already based off
Okay,
of
what do you
profit
got?
margin.
Okay.
So for him, his goal is to make $4,000 a month. He's also still in college, but with his time allocation, he can do 12 to 14 quotes a week. Okay.
Well, 4,000 a month isn't,
No.
isn't six figures, but
It's not, no. But that's partly that's
48K.
because he's he's not in the sales realm to really earn a boatload of money. He's still making double as he would if he was still working his last job, and he's still in college. He can only work 12 to 10 to 12 or 12 to 15 quotes a week. His goal for November is to make $4,000, and October looks like is going to be his first month doing bids solo without me there. So if he is 8% off of profit, that's how I mapped it out. He needs to do and sell 100K of revenue at a 50% margin. That equates to 40 quotes. He closes 40% of those. Our average job size is 6.5K. That would get him to 4,000 in commish. Obviously, if we kind of change things for what you align, then
it's going to be incredibly confusing for you to do this because job costing isn't always done at the time the job is sold. So in other words,
indicator.
It is a lagging indicator. And if I sell a job today, you might not do that job until January. How are you going to manage that?
Yeah. My thought with that is, okay, let's see how you're selling. I'm obviously.
Oh no, don't do that. I know you're going to project it and commission it.
Okay. So you think,
what you were thinking?
Yeah, like I was going to be like, hey, and I've had that before. I've had someone else do
don't
sales.
Do that to yourself, bro. Just do it off of the gross. It's going to be more favorable because I guarantee if you reverse engineer this, you'll land somewhere between 7 and 10% of the gross amount.
Instead of,
I mean, look what you said he's projecting. What did you say? $4,000?
He wants to make $4,000 in November.
Okay. You said 4K at a 50K profit. So that's what? 9% of the sale. So, or five, no, sorry, that's 5% of the sale. So if he's selling 100K to make 4K, he's got to profit 50K.
Yep.
So
50K.
you're actually at 4% of the gross.
Yep. 4%. 4% of sales versus 8% of the PM.
Right, which is a lot less headache for you, and you can always go up, you know, if you feel like it more aligns with what but that's generally pretty low. Like I'll just say like generally you're at like 8 to 10 for a fully commissioned salesperson, right?
Okay.
You know, look, from my perspective, like, and I'm just going to give you some out of the box perspective. Maybe that's maybe why you came.
Yeah.
Mike, bro, you're handing the keys to a Ferrari to someone that is working part-time. I've dealt with a lot of salespeople. I've dealt with a lot of business owners. You and I both know you didn't really like take your business extremely serious until it was all you had. And I just feel like if you're giving someone the responsibility to keep 10 families fed, this needs to be their full focus. Otherwise, you're only going to get half effort, half energy, half attention when this is the driver of your growth, which is a very big responsibility. Like, I don't think like someone that's going to school and doing this full time is going to care about whether Pedro is going to get 40 hours next week as much as you will, because he's your employee and you know the responsibilities required to help him, you know, and he's just going to get external pressure from you, which is cool, but I don't like it.
Yeah, I understand that. I think about it a little bit. This guy, I mean, he's my best friend from college. He's the guy that made me walk. He's my roommate too, and like he's always been around while I was building this, and he always is like interested in it. And honestly, he's a way smarter guy than me.
Tell him to go all in and give him some equity if he really wants.
And he wants to do it. Like he's going to graduate, and he wants to. You know, I have other guys that are in college that have painted for me, and actually will come back and be in that.
Three crews is no joke, bro. Like, three crews is a different ball game. It's not like, you know, you could throw in an amateur salesperson. You're at a 70% close rate, dude. You're a killer. The only reason you're confident in the fact that you can get the three crews is because you're closing them 70% of the time.
Yeah, and I don't want to. And I don't want to do, like, the reason why it's so high is because I don't want to do 25 quotes a week. I can only do, you know, we don't need more sales is kind of my ask right now.
You will when you
will. Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're at a 70% closing ratio, you're closing 7 out of 10, right? So, I mean, you're going to need more. It's always more leads. It's always more sales. Yeah. It's more jobs. Like that's the territory. I'm at 4. So I graduated from 3, felt that, and now I'm at 4. It's a different ball game. Yeah. And you need somebody either like, and here's the thing, I don't do the sales. We have an estimator model and we crank out a lot of quotes because of that. If we had a closer model, it'd probably be different. But for me, that's what I like. It's what works. So
could you please explain the difference between that?
Sure. Estimator model for me is a lot of the sale is happening remotely. So our office admin is a huge component of facilitating the experience. On bigger jobs, sometimes I get involved to add my opinion where needed. But essentially, I send someone out to run estimates, and that's taking pictures, taking measurements. He's a salaried employee. He gets a car. He has no responsibility to close or to price the job. We send every quote from the office, but we get a lot of leads. And the thing is, our closing ratio is 30%, but the volume makes up for it. It's a more lean model. It doesn't. I'm not a fan of commission salesperson at my level. I think 5 or 6 crews, you need one because you need, you know, to really move the needle. But for my current level in my painting business, I had a salesperson, and what I found was that there was a lot of frustration there because our production schedule was hurting his ability to sell jobs, right? In other words, like he was outselling what production could produce. So if a customer needed something within 2 weeks, we couldn't get to it and he would lose the sale. Or he would go and do an estimate and then our follow-ups would convert the customer and we're paying a commission on that when like it's like, so there were just some things, so that's just a different way to do it. That fits me, in our business, and I run DripJobs. I do a couple other things. So I have a very lean painting business model, but it works. We'll do 1.7 this year,
Gotcha. How do you, I guess, how do I put this? How does that estimator know very specifically on what that client wants if
He's painted.
he's painting himself? So
a painter.
he's got reps painting. So he knows
Yeah.
exactly like
He was painter, crew leader, project manager, and then estimator. So that is important because he has a lot of knowledge that when he's going there, he's mostly coming there as a consultant and just explaining how we do things. And it's worked. Like it really has. It's great because it saves a lot of resources.
Yeah. What's their salary? To like, what would you suggest?
Anywhere between 50 and 60K. If you want to add and you get a vehicle, get gas, just and incentivize for performance if you can build that in,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't like being the company that comes in the close. Like I want to be the company that has a great reputation, provides you with all the information you need to make an educated decision. Every now and again we'll have to get a little creative. That's part of the game, but we want to come in with poise and confidence. I did all the gritty closing stuff to get the company going like you're doing now. But you'll find that balance.
Yeah, because that's where I've shifted a lot from.
I would also not put someone on 100% commission, dude. It sucks if you've ever been in that position.
Yeah, I have been.
Yeah, you don't try not to do that, man.
Okay.
It doesn't send the right vibrations to the customer when you have a feast or famine salesperson right there.
Yeah. Yeah. In that aspect, I was a college works kid. I don't know if you know them a lot, but I was 100% like that. And they very pushy with the sale. Hey, you get a 15% discount. So as I've kind of grown out, I've now been at the point where I'm never in scarcity of leads or jobs.
Right.
And
but you have that in your tool belt though, which is good. It's a good thing to have in the tool belt. I get you. I'm with you.
Exactly. So I've now changed to like when I do the quote now in the last probably 2 years, it's shifted very much from like, oh, I really want this job to estimator type approach with me. Like, hey, here's everything you need. Here's what you want in a job. Here's how much it costs to have the most reputable company in the area with all these things. Like, here's the price, and let our proof talk, other than just the promise. That's like maybe like we don't really negotiate on the price. So our company is residential and commercial repaint. We don't do anything else.
I'm with you.
Good to hear. And
we operate similarly.
Good.
But the benefit of my style in terms of my estimator is he's versatile, which means if I don't have estimates for the last half of the day, he goes and helps the crew, or he's a part of the team and he does something that's valuable on the production side.
Yeah, that's huge because I have guys in production that do want those opportunities. And I've shifted a lot. I think I hopped on your call, not this Wednesday, but the week before. You talked about I've been extremely data driven. Like I'm always data. You've kind of made me, I don't want to say care a little bit about the numbers less, but you talking about if people want these opportunities and you think they're ready for them, maybe it's not the most profitable decision right away.
Right. Yeah.
But giving them the keys to the Ferrari with the next role, they're going to care a lot about it. And, just kind of this, 15 minutes here, I think this is a guy that, I want people in my company that number one, have great culture. Number two, they have grit. They're willing to learn and grow. And then third, they're skilled in whatever aspect of the business they're in.
Yeah.
We can teach the skill if they have those two other things.
Right. Yeah.
What I think maybe for this set individual, like, a guy that has been kind of around, and I don't like mixing business with pleasure at all. But I think maybe what I want to do is, hey, you're going to be sales rep, and then he kind of builds the blueprint for what do you need for skills, because okay, you'll be sale, and then when we look at bringing another rep, it's not going to be a rep, it's going to be probably an estimator model, is maybe what I think,
I
because
think
right
it's all
now,
about communication, dude. And I think look, if you're close with this guy and he's your buddy, you are entering into business and pleasure. So make a very careful decision with how you proceed. That's my advice to you. Because one or two things are going to happen. Either he's going to leave or you're going to elevate him further in the company.
yeah,
And
and
you're going to
that's
have to deal with that, whether it's leaving on, 'cause it is very hard to remove someone from a position in
yeah,
any scenario, especially someone you have a good relationship with. So make sure you set expectations if you're going to do it, which you probably are, but if you're going to continue with it, I think there's a lot of benefit to growing something together. So see what that looks like. You can offer them some equity to be a partner, to run production, someone you trust, to also manage sales and to scale it. Like if that's what you want to do. If not, you have a part-time salesperson, which again, dude, like a true salesperson that's on 100% commission is from 8 in the morning to 5. He's hunting every day. Like you're only going to get partial effort. I don't think I would ever let someone part-time carry the weight of driving our business forward ever
yeah,
in
I
any of my businesses. Like I would never let anyone do that because it's such a valuable role. I think you're successful in it. Although, yes, you're like, oh, I don't sell with scarcity. I don't close. But dude, you come in with an aura that can be reciprocated. And that aura is you're the owner and you do carry that responsibility on your chest because you've made a lot of promises to a lot of people that go to work for you each day.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
going to be different, dude. It's going to be different.
yeah,
And
and
the biggest reason why I'm coming at you like this is because you said you want a third crew. The only reference point you have about what you need to do is on 2 crews. Not the time to bring in a brand new salesperson. Like,
yeah,
not the time, dude. It's not.
gotcha, yeah, yeah,
If you want to grow the third crew, I mean, if you're like, okay, I'll stick with 2 until July of next year, that's when you bring in. He needs 6 months of like closing and learning and pricing and experience. And like I told you yesterday, having paint with the team, if he's all in, conversation I would have is like, hey man, here's the 2 options I can give you. You come in as a partner, I'll put you on a 4-year vesting schedule with a 1-year cliff. With that said, you'd get a 25% ownership in the company. Your job is to help me build out the sales and production model. I want you to transfer all your classes online and work with me from 8 to 5.
gotcha.
Clear and concise communication, bro. And if it's like, hey man, like I don't want to ever ruin our friendship or relationship, so that's kind of what I've come up with because I value you and I care more
even
about
more even more black and white. And I
yeah.
think yeah, a lot of great points, and I love this is like, okay, we want to produce more revenue a month. How do we do that? More people, but it can't be both, because that's how I feel right now is I'm trying to grow hires with, I'm doing basically, instead of my one constraint, I have 2 constraints. And that
Well, you're the
constraint
best
is,
salesperson in your business.
yeah, I'm the
Imagine that.
only, yeah,
Imagine I own the business and you were my employee and you were my salesperson and I decided to remove you from doing anything in the business and put in a new salesperson at a time of growth. That's what's happening. Like I'm not saying you're going to be not doing anything. You're just not going to be doing anything like tangible.
yeah, no, that's how I know
Like
what
you're
you're
kind of
saying.
wanting to be hands off, which is good. That's a good thought. You then become a nurturer of relationships and building the team and building the people, and that's a good thought. Just not now because you're trying to grow. You're in
Gotcha.
wartime. It's
Gotcha.
wartime and peacetime. I posted about this. Check it out. It's a good post. But wartime and peacetime. You're entering wartime. This is where you're in the freaking barracks. You're gearing up, dude. You don't, what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and you might go a year with 3 crews. That's a good accomplishment, dude. Like 3 full-time crews, cranking out work every single day, refining the processes, building the leaders. that's the time where you make small changes or change out a salesperson at that point, not going into it, especially with the winter.
Yeah. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. What you're saying is, I feel like I'm in war mode right now because ever since probably August, start of August, I want to do two things. I want to get to 3 crews. I want to produce basically 2025. I want to produce. The goal is produce a minimum of 6 figures of work each month in 2025. That is, and where do I get that goal? Okay, because I want to not just have a run rate of $1 million. Like this 2025 would be the year where we are not just a run rate, but we are 1.8.
You're a production.
Yeah.
You're actually, realizing the income. I got
Yes. But that's the thing. I'm so torn right now because
Don't
I'm
base
trying to.
that projection off of 10K for 3 guys.
Huh?
Don't base that projection off of 10K a week for 3 guys. Please don't. I'd prefer you say 7K, please.
Okay.
And if your 3 guys are consistently producing 10K a week, dude, you got a gold mine. But
what are you charging?
I mean, I know that you're in a different region and the prices are different,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, what do you pay your guys hourly on high end, low end?
Yeah, so they're actually performance pay based. Okay, so they get a base. Our average before burden is $25, $25.12 average across our production team. When their crew hits below 33%, or not 33%, below 52%, or wow, when they hit above 52% in profit margin, they get to keep that difference. So say we profit 55% on that job, that 3% gets split between their crew. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how do you handle it when they hit below 52%?
They get no bonuses. So there's no bonus. They don't their rate doesn't go down. So their base rate, it's still like any other hourly job.
I mean, to me,
it's hard.
You don't like it. I know you don't.
I know it's scary, but like
it's not a good model. It only rewards okay, so if I lose you money for 2 weeks and then I got to pay and then I make you money next week.
Oh, sorry.
That money should be used to overcompensate for the loss.
Sorry, it is. So
pool it?
Yep, so that's changed. So instead I was doing that. So when I had less people, I was like, yeah, when you hit 52 on each job, your sample size is, like that. Now what we do is we've shifted to quarterly. So quarterly, you hit 55% across the board, then you get that 3% split between you. Do you like that? Does that make sense? I do. Well,
your guys like it?
Yeah, they do.
Good.
The hard thing is the people, like we just want to bring in really good people that are, I want to say winners. Like you're a winner, you're a whiner. And the people that see that, like we make sure that we're aligned on everything where, hey, everyone has a different risk tolerance and I get it. In this company, you got to have a little bit more of a risk tolerance because your base is going to be maybe a little lower than you think, but you got to operate where when you win, you get to keep that and you're going to make more.
So what if they do the job and they do it efficiently, but sales underbid it?
Exactly. And that's why I do the profit. That's why I've done the profit margin. That's why I want to do profit margin, because if the sales gets fucked up, it's the sales guy's fault. But right now that finger's always pointed at me. Like if someone's like, hey, this wasn't bid right. Well, yeah, I'm the business owner. I obviously have the highest risk tolerance and I'll eat that. And that's worked out fine cash flow wise. But
I think if you can figure it out, incentive-based pricing, it's a good thing. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. Logistically, it sucks. But then again, if you feel like it's motivating your team, great. I think the pivot to quarterly helps because it's like, hey, dude, if you guys drag tail on this one, we got to figure that out. I think quarterly is also tough because they have to wait a long time to get rewarded.
Feedback loop, right?
The feedback loop is really long.
And that's why I've dabbled between monthly and quarterly every 10 jobs.
Every 10 jobs, be a little milestone. And I always try to be empathetic and think of myself as the employee. I'm waiting a quarter to get this bonus. And it's like,
Mhm.
it doesn't have the same, it doesn't have the same power. I think what you're doing is great. I think your next play after 3 is to get that project manager in place where his responsibility is also incentivized to ensure his teams are hitting their goals. And it's just kind of like
Yeah.
passing the torch and passing the accountability down the line. The sales thing is the only thing that concerns me, dude. It really does.
I okay.
Yeah.
I do have a PM right now.
Oh, that's right. Okay. What's he do?
He has been the best hire ever.
Okay.
Like, and he's a guy that ran a PM role for a different home service company. He doesn't know as much about paint, but his role is when I'm not doing PM activities, he's learning stuff on the tools, and he puts the ego aside and he has a lead tell him what to do, and he's completely fine. He's an amazing culture fit. Like, he's who I want across the board. If I had 5 of him, we would be killing it. His role is scheduling job walks prior. So making sure that from the sale to the production starts, customers aligned. And then
Right.
he then talks and starts every single job with the lead, the foreman on the crew, and tells them, hey, just checking you off. Here's the things. Um, he handles all of our inventory, confirming colors, XYZ, moving trailers, looking at weather when we're doing exterior versus
What about an
interior.
office admin?
I have a VA. She's our production coordinator.
Okay.
So she handles a lot of things: job costing, reviewing payroll, like making sure there's nothing funky. Anything that I kind of need, like she's kind of handles some stuff with customers once they get sold, but also I might tell her to, um, marketing wise, hey, create our strategic partners and email them all. Um, so she's been great. She's been around for probably 3 months now. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think you have no problem with pulling in help and doing things. I just, again, once again, like I think the only big concern for me is that they say once you told me he's part time, I just I don't think the he's going to drive the growth.
So my question to you on that is, do you
You're
think
doing,
I focus on me selling everything still and build the 3 crews, or do you think I
yeah, you don't
switch
do
it?
anything else. What are you going to do? You got a project manager who's great at his job. You have crews that are killing it. You have a back end killer, and you're going to be sitting there just kind of like waiting around, like waiting for what to do next. And if you have another venture you want to get into, then yeah, like place a salesperson and let the business do its thing. But I don't think that's the case. I think right now, like you're probably best closing, you know, or getting a full time salesperson with experience. Like you're probably teaching your new guy things that like someone else already possesses. Instead of just teaching the components of painting, you're having to teach the components of selling. Are you finding yourself in that position?
Of teaching him things about painting?
No, of teaching him things about selling.
Not really. I'm more or less the things that he needs to work on is literally just understanding DripJob software production rates.
Okay.
Like, he knows how to sell. He just needs the tech, like the
Right.
tech and the he hasn't painted. Like, he's painted 2 jobs for me in the last 2 years.
Okay.
Um, why? Okay, so why I want a sales guy is because sales is obviously a big time suck
It
out of my
is.
schedule. Like, okay, a quote lasts an hour, but also I got all the
Drive.
follow-ups, all the qual calls, the driving.
Well, your
Um,
VA, you probably don't have your VA on the phone, do you?
no, not yet. She just is starting to, maybe she's now on our
Right.
company line where she's third in line if no one picks up the
Does she
phone
speak
to,
well?
yeah, she speaks great.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you have a lot of good things going on, Mike. I don't think like, look, my advice just comes from the perspective of, at the core of it, like there's an element of grit that comes with full responsibility in sales. Like, and I
Yeah.
just feel like if you're, look, hypothetically speaking, a whole nother crew requires at a 50% closing ratio, right? A crew is going to need 2 jobs a week, let's say on average. Okay. So you're at 10 jobs a month, let's just say on the high end. If he's selling 50% of the time, that's 20 appointments. Okay. What's your set rate?
Last time I checked, what is it? 75%, and still we started rolling out Google or Facebook ads, and now it's
No, that's going to go down. So
yeah, it's
let's say it's like 60%. So 60% of the time, whenever you get a lead, they convert to an appointment. Okay. So in order to get 20 appointments, you need about 50 leads. Okay. So that's 50 more leads, 20 more appointments to get 10 more jobs at a 50% closing ratio.
I mean,
right?
we're getting in the last 4 weeks, we've gotten 51 leads.
Right. But Facebook leads are different.
Yeah, they're at
Facebook
30% show rate.
They are, and they suck sometimes. So that's going to require probably a little more vetting out in the office. Like I think you could do that as well. So I mean, there's a lot of components there, man. But I hope this was helpful. I'm tight on time today, but if you want to jump in again, let me know what you think about some of those things, and if you make any changes, I'd love to hear them.
Cool, we'll do. Is this getting? Sorry, I would have been in my office in like actual clothes. Is this like a podcast you'll post somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
cool.
all good, man. It's all
next
good.
one I'll be suited up and whatnot or looking
No
back.
need, man. No need. I love the grit.
Appreciate it.
Mike, thanks,
yeah,
bro. Yeah,
Be in
send me
touch.
an email or shoot me a message if you need to follow up on any of that.
Cool. All right.